We will say, thank you very much, I'll move on to your competitor.
They shouldn't be doing homework at 12 a.m. to start with. Is that still the case?
Which is notoriously difficult.
So you have turned down investor money.
Yeah, of course.
So that was a necessary pain.
AI can change profoundly the way that teachers teach.
In Asia, academic pressure isn't just a headline, it's a way of life. Every year, millions of students gear up for high-stakes exams that can shape their entire future. In Singapore, children face their first test at the tender age of 12. That's the backdrop where GenieBook was born, a Singapore startup using AI to personalize how kids learn, question by question, concept by concept. From a small tuition center to a profitable platform serving over 200,000 students, GenieBook is now the largest education tech company in Singapore. In this episode, I talked to co-founder and CEO Zhizhong Neo at GenieBook about building trust with tiger moms, scaling AI in education but not losing sight of learning outcomes, and lessons learned from venturing into the other Southeast Asian markets. Welcome to Asia Tech Lens. We're joined by the co-founder and CEO Zhizhong Neo. Neo, thank you so much for joining us on Asia Tech Lens. Before AI was even a buzzword, you were already incorporating AI in your teaching. Why did you start thinking about that? What was the spark?
Back in 2017 in December, I was in New York, right? And we were there for some work event. I was thinking, right, what are the future and what can we invest in to make sure that we help students to get real learning outcomes. So there were two technologies back then that were buzzing, right? One was blockchain and then the other is AI. But ultimately we decided to invest much heavier, right, on AI because we really believe that AI can change profoundly the way that teachers teach and the way that students learn.
Out of two buzzwords, blockchain and AI, you picked the right one.
Blockchain is doing pretty well on its own. It's just that we don't see how it can be. We don't know how it can really change the learning itself. You can change the environmental factors, like you can do proof of concepts and proof of attendance, proof of work. We don't think that those are the things that can really change learning and improve learning profoundly.
Let's talk about your product. GenieBook claims that it personalizes learning, right? This personalization is powered by AI. How does that actually work under the hood?
So we started the GenieSmart. GenieSmart is a question bank that recommends questions based on student strengths and their gaps. So what it does is that when the students do enough questions, right, X number of questions, different students have a different X, right, and then the AI, there are a couple of AIs here. So the first AI will look at these questions, right, and project forward thousands of paths of which questions they will do for the next 1,000 questions, right, and then from there, the second AI will analyze the accuracy of that, and then the third AI will choose the path that have the highest probability of helping the students improve. And then we recommend that strings of questions. Regardless of whether they get it correct or wrong, we will map out the path. And then every questions that they do, we'll run the AI again, right? And then you will build upon that and then continue to learn from the inputs from the students' attempts, and then you will continue to customize, which is why our students have been improving quite a lot. So that's the first step of what we do in the early stage until today. And then now we're incorporating a lot of these large language models into our platform as well. So one of the most recent is that the students are getting personalized hints generated by AI, right? So if, for example, if both of us, Miro, that we do the same questions, and you are stronger in geometry, for example, and I need more help, the hint that is given to you and the hint that is given to me will be different. And it will not give you the answer directly. You will go step 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And then some students will say that I just want the answer. What can I do next, right? So then you will go into GenieASK, which is where our teachers are on standby to answer any question within minutes, right? And empowered with AI, these teachers are replying the question like 70% faster, right?
So these teachers are not real humans. They are AI bots.
They are real humans empowered with an AI bot, right? You can imagine that the real humans are using something like ChatGPT that's integrated into our model, and then they will first suggest the answer, and the teachers will review, and then they will send the answers, right? So it is a very powerful human plus AI model. We never believe that AI can replace human, but we believe that human plus AI will really pose a lot of strengths over just pure humans.
And since then, the AI technology at that time, compared to what we have today, has made heaps and leaps of development, right? And how has that changed your product?
I think the commercialization of the technologies that we are seeing now in terms of the large language models, the small language models, and the automation technology that have been available, but recently has been applied to AI. I think those are very exciting components that we look at. So one of the few things that we are doing for students, that on top of our AI generated questions bank that is based on student strength and their gaps, we are also investing into what can we help students to improve their learning cycle faster. For example, one component of learning is getting feedback fast, right? And that is what we are investing in as well. How do we provide instant feedback to students using AI, which is notoriously difficult in the sense that, state-of-the-art accuracy reasoning model, right, reasoning model is like 92-93%. But I can't go to my parents and say that, look, join us because we are 93% accurate. They will say, thank you very much, I'll move on to your competitor, right? So I think the accuracy have to go up to like 99% accurate before we can actually do further, before we can convince the students and the consumers to really use this for all academic purposes. However, the way that we implement is that we empower the teachers and the students with a layer of AI, and then the human will come in and do the verification and the validation of the information.
Right. So some of the parents, when GPT came out at the first place, were concerned, right? So they are concerned that AI is going to help their children to do the homework, give them the answer. So you're trying to find a balance in not giving the answer, but teach you how to learn faster.
It is a balance, right? We are firm believer of you have to give the students the answer, right? Somehow, right? Yeah, we don't believe in that. Yeah.
How to get there, right? From A to B. It's not like the answer is B. It's like how you get there. But do you tell them the multiple ways to go there, or just one way?
We do, but on top of that, one key insights that we see is that some students, they want the answer right now. Don't go through that process of telling me how to get there. I want the answer right now. If we don't give them the answer in those situations, they will just say, I'm not going to use you anymore, right? No matter how good your product is. So we got to balance. Why? Because ultimately we need to make sure that the students are benefiting, right? So once we detect frustration in the students, we will give them the answer, right? And then we will take other opportunities when the human comes back on board. Then that is where they will counsel and coach the students again, right? Into when for example, it's 12 a.m. I got to hand in my assignment tomorrow, and you still go through the entire process of what is this? Why is it happening? I'll be like so frustrated, right? I just use ChatGPT itself and give me the answer, right?
So you're afraid that at that moment they will just go to GPT and say, give me my coffee, give me my answer right here, right now.
Yes, and students, right? We need to give credit to students. Students, they want to learn. They know that they have to learn, right? Even if they don't like it, they know that they have to learn, right? Say they do try to learn, right? But when it's 12 a.m., I'm tired, I got to wake up at 5, and then you still ask me to go through this whole process of like back and forth. Like, I don't think that's best for students either, right? We don't think it's the
They
best
shouldn't
pedagogy.
be doing homework at 12 a.m. to start with. Is that still the case? So students in Singapore still have to do homework until 12?
No, not really. We actually see it toned down quite a bit. But you know, there are some secondary or JC students, right, that, like, even for myself, I thrive better at night, you know, think through some of this stuff. And some kids, by that age, they know that they can function better when they do work at night. Right. So that's something that we respect and we recognize, we acknowledge and understand as well. So that's why we will have to cater to that.
Your product, you said you can measure the learning improvement very well. So how do you do that?
There are a couple of things. Firstly, we have more than 100 million attempts by students by now, right? And then that forms a basis of a really, really big treasure trove of how do we assess students. So that's one part. Secondly, we take into considerations their actual assessments or tests or exams in school. So we take into consideration of that, and then we tally it back to our assessment of how strong the child is for that particular topic, and we continue to recalibrate the algorithm or the AI that we use to generate that score for that particular topic. So we call it skill level, right? And then the skill level will correspond to what are the strengths and weaknesses for the child.
You know, you started tuition centers, like a physical tuition center before, and then you said you started to introduce the technology. Parents, this is a very important component of your customer base, right? You have to convince them. How do you convince them to trust using technology at that time when you first started?
Right, we started with using the pure offline education tuition centers, and then we started to implement technology in class. So when we started the technology in class, I think the parents see the immediate benefits in the sense that they get notifications of when their children are actually doing the work. I think that's very, very important. And all the students were equipped with an iPad, right, in our centers back then. And what we did from there was that we continued to build the platform, and there are parents application that parents themselves can use and see the progress, and we have iterated multiple times since then. But I think the core of the genesis of GenieBook was that parents start to find that the logistics of sending kids to a physical center, right, is actually quite costly on both time and money, right, because I got financially. So then that is when they start asking, can I just have this online component of things? So there were multiple parents that asked for that, and then that's when we started to take out the technology, right, and then start to allow parents and offer it to parents and students to use. And that was the genesis of GenieBook, and then it really took off. Pre-COVID, we're really doing really, really well. We raised our pre-Series A back in 2018, 2001. Yeah, before COVID. So then we were really doing well, even before COVID, and COVID gave us a spike, and now, you know, we are back to best year ever so far.
And how did this running a physical center shape the DNA of GenieBook?
So looking at some of the other institutions or technology companies that are doing education, it helps that Alicia and I both taught private tuition and in-class tuition for more than 10 years before we shifted to the management components of things. And that is the foundation that we are still sticking to, making sure that we constantly drive the best learning outcomes for students and build the business on that, rather than the other way around, right? We build trying to deliver learning outcome on the business. I think that is not how we operate, and that's not how we believe that education's institutions should operate, and that's why we always focus on driving the learning outcomes first and then build a business around it.
I'm interested in how, you know, from a physical tuition center, there's demand from the customers, from parents, want digitalization, want more technology, to today you're a Edtech company. So this journey, like at what stage you feel like the tech component is bigger? Today, back then, when you first raised Series A, you had maybe more than 300 teachers. But today, I saw the data is you have less teacher, you have 100 plus teacher. But the student number ballooned. Now you're at more than 200,000. And how did that, scale tilted?
So I think a few bits of that. The first part of the question is that when do we shift completely to online? So we shifted about 2019, 2020, right?
During COVID.
During COVID we shift completely online, right? And but as I was sharing that we were doing well even before COVID, so we already planned the transition even before COVID strike, right? And then that's where we started to do well, and we start seeing a lot of students getting the learning outcomes that we aim for. So I think that's the primary factor that really push us to that. And then the other part of how do we reduce the size of the people involved while still helping so many students. I think the key opportunity here is that firstly, we created the materials with a help of many talented and dedicated teachers, right? And then some of them were on contract, some of them are on full-time basis, and eventually the materials that they created are really useful, that we can then add on a layer of technology to have the teachers with us today to deliver that. So today we also have about 10 physical centers now by the end of this year, right? And the centers are all using a hybrid version of GenieBook, and together with our the different acquisitions that we made. One is after school learning center, and then the other one is best physics tuition. Very fortunate to have partners on both sides that are really driving the learning outcomes, and then of course building a tremendous business, and the teams are really great there.
How do your teachers think about those AI tools?
We have been very clear since day one that we are not implementing AI to replace anyone. In fact, we want to create even more jobs.
You let 200. You did you had more teachers, and now you have less, right?
Okay, two different parts. One part is that the content provider, right, and a lot of them are under contract, and then that's when they decided to part ways, right? So that's one part, right? Like if you look at across all our departments, all of them, in fact, most of the departments are using AI really strongly now, and then that's what we are seeing. So that is the message that we have to the team, that even with the engineers, right, we tell them that this is not our objective. Our objective is to empower you. We will invest the AI to help you to do your job better, right? And that's what we are seeing for the past 6 months, and in fact our team has been growing in the last 6 months.
So how big is your team? What's the component? The tools that you embedded in your product, are they built in-house or are they outsourced? Or you also say you use the existing large language models out there.
So we have close partnerships with this large language foundation models provider. So we get access to some of the latest models, some of the educational usage models. So we work really closely with them. We also develop some of the AI components ourselves that are not the large language models. For example, our recommendation engine, we have to create and customize our own AI to be able to assess the students and to craft out the paths for them. LMs can't do that today, right? And so that's something that we created before the whole hype from ChatGPT and everything.
Okay, and since the funding, and then you expanded to neighboring countries, Vietnam you named is the next market. What are the other markets that you are looking at?
One, we have offices in Indonesia, in Malaysia, and also in China as well. So those are the places that we have teams, right? Be it designers, technologies, be it customer service. Those are the places, and teachers, and those are the places that we officers, right? But in terms of our ambition, we believe that education shouldn't be separated by imaginary lines drawn on the floor or in the sea. So our objective is to really bring the best technologies that we have, to respect the culture and the methodology of every education system in Southeast Asia, and then we will scale that. So what are the next countries that we will look at? Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines, and Thailand are probably the ones that are on our plate. We have not decided where exactly is the next one, right? But all these are the potentials as well.
What lessons have you learned from entering the Vietnamese market?
So even in my previous projects, I have been into Vietnam since 2001. So what amazes me has always been it is a very driven population, young and competent since kids. Since they are kids, right? They really know what they want. And like for example, last year we produced 10 ASEAN scholars. We have many fewer students compared to the international schools, but we have way more ASEAN scholars than the rest of the providers. And I mean, we help them, but the credit is solely the students, right, that are able to get so many scholarships, right, in themselves.
The tiger moms behind the students.
Yeah, I mean, my first impression when I went Vietnam for education is that they are as competitive as all the tiger moms that I've seen in be it in Singapore, be it in Hong Kong, be it in China as well.
Now we know Singapore. You mentioned that Asians pay a lot of attention to education, and Singapore's education scene is very competitive. The industry actually is very big. How do you see your place in this, or do you no longer compete with them anymore?
I think if we look at it as an education market, right, I think there's still a lot of room for a tech-enabled offering to grow, right? We are still largely online, right? But if you look at our offline hybrid component and the institutions in there, right, we are very, very confident and very proud that we have a very strong team, strong teachers now empowered with advanced tools to help students to improve a lot. So we do see, and we are seeing today, that our centers are growing very profitably and continue to grow. So we want to be the largest education centers in Singapore within the next 3 years. And from our initial results in the past 1 year, we do see that happening as well.
Your product is based on Singapore national curriculum. As you move on to other markets, are you going to adapt to other curriculum, or are people interested in the Singapore math, for example?
So we have the Cambridge and we have the IB program as well, right? So those are the programs that we have, and they're pretty universal. I mean, if it is English, then it's pretty universal across all the countries that want to, all the students that want to learn English. And mathematics and sciences are where we can add a lot of value. But if you look at Vietnam, for example, they are really strong in mathematics and science. Some of the kids are the smartest in math and science that I've ever seen in my life, right? Where can we add value to them? Mathematics and science in English and English itself. That is where we come into the picture to add value on what we believe will be able to help the students to bridge into the international opportunities, be it if they want to go overseas to study, or somewhere like Singapore to study, or eventually they might want to travel. We want to arm them with the confidence in not just conversational English, but also STEM specific language that they can use. Right? And that's what we are very proud of, to be able to drive for students like in Vietnam, for example.
So education is deeply regulated and culturally sensitive. How these two, cultural environment and regulation has affected your business along the way? Do you have any example to share, lesson learned?
I think it is important to learn from our own mistakes, but it is more important to look around the world and then make sure that we learn from others' mistakes as well. right? For example, if you look at what happened to China in 2021, right? We are very cognizant that we have to be fully compliant before we decided to take a step into a country like China, right? They have some of the best edutech technologies in there, right? And of course, post the double reduction policy, a lot of them have been severely affected, but many of them are back on track now as well, right? So I think those institutions that still focus on the primary goal of helping students to learn well and grow the students, I think we'll be able to withstand all these regulations, right? For example, in Vietnam as well, we have been very fortunate that we from day one we learn and then we make sure that we are fully compliant with any regulations. Singapore is a robust education system. The materials is robust, but we do not want to bring what we know and go into a new environment or a new country and assume that we know better than the people. And that's not what we do. We have a strong local team that we work very closely with, and they share with us, and we have advisors and we have investors from those countries as well that has been sharing with us like what are the things to take note of. So I think that's a very important component of how we can both help the students to do well and also respect not only the regulations but also the culture of the people that we are trying to serve.
You mentioned the Chinese market that's competitive on a different level, right? So why do you want to go into the Chinese market knowing that there are already so many players and with the high level technological advancement there?
I think back then before the double reduction policies, we did consider whether should we invest in China. What I mean, the attractiveness is that it is a very, very highly driven young population, right? The students are very, very driven as well. We work with some of the students in Singapore, the immigrants, right? They are really, really driven, and that's where we see that we can drive the most result, the fastest, right? We can help students across all walks of life, but that is one of the areas that we feel like we really can help those students, especially if they want to learn mathematics and science in English and English itself. So we believe that that is an opportunity for us. But of course, eventually we didn't enter China, right? Even though we have students across 17 other countries now, right? We are very focused on driving what we believe can add value to the Southeast Asia students for now.
Is English still your best-selling product?
English, mathematics, actually they are all pretty even.
Your product, it's not cheap. It's 290 Sing dollars a month, right? So what does that entail? Like, you pay this fee and what do you get?
Firstly, you get all the products and the technology that we've invested over close to a decade now, right? And that serves as the foundation. However, you get the live classes that are conducted by real human teachers, right, that are very engaging. You will listen intently and you will learn a lot from the classes. And once you have any questions or any doubts after the class, you can hop on to our GenieASK, which is a real-time community that have students and teachers in there. And if you post a question today, your answers will get a reply within minutes. I mean, your questions will get answered within minutes, right? Of course, there's Genie Smart, that is a question bank of more than 300,000 questions, right? And those are the things that you will get. So why are we pricing at that level? Is because we want to deliver a product and service that we are proud of, to deliver the learning outcomes. And this is the only way that we know how to do it, with the human and AI and other technologies, right, working really seamlessly to drive that level of learning outcomes for students and parents.
So is the subscription the majority of your revenue stream, or do you have other revenue streams?
We mainly serve the students, so of course our offline centers, right? They are paying fees as well. Most of them pay annual, some of them pay quarterly, and some of them pay monthly, right? And it's really up to them to decide like how do they want to engage with firstly our teachers, and also secondly how do the parents feel that the kids can learn better. So now we have the best of both worlds for them. They can learn in a hybrid setting with technology, or they can just jump onto pure learning, and we see a lot of crossover from both.
You said that you would be focusing on serving Southeast Asian students, but Southeast Asia is such a diverse economic bloc, right? And now we're talking about AI. There's a lot of talk also about AI equality. How do you ensure the students in some Southeast Asian nations, they don't have the access, right, to the technology and can't afford your package? Do you think about this kind of thing?
Yeah, so based on the different content that we provide in the different countries, the price are actually adjusted according to the needs and the requirements of the location. For example, in Vietnam, we charge about 1,000 USD, right, per year, right? So then that is lower price than Singapore, right? But because the intensity is that the Singapore is a national curriculum, and in Vietnam we're acting as an international bridge to the opportunities. So those are the differences in the offering that we have. Like ultimately, if we charge too high, no students are using it, then we cannot fulfill the mission of helping students anyway. So we are very cognizant of how do we grow in a place, and again respecting the culture, the regulation, and of course the economic realities.
What big trends in Southeast Asia's edutech scene that excite you most right now?
I think what we are doing is pretty exciting on thinking about how to meaningfully incorporate AI and not just doing AI for the sake of AI. We have early access to GPT-4 in 2023, right? But I told the team that most of the wrappers around these prompts will eventually not serve its purpose, and they will die off, right? So if we want to build any features layer on the LLMs, we need to make sure that it is not something that can be replaced easily, right? Or students can find somewhere else, right? If anybody can develop something better outside, then let's not do it. Let's work with them and then bring it an API or something in-house, right? Which is what we do with like the foundation models providers, right? And that's something that we do quite a lot. So the excitement for the next level of this meaningful usage of AI will be really about how do we think about creating a more beneficial AI companion. Right, not a tutor. I don't think the tutor is the right approach for the AIs that we have, but more of a study companion. I believe that is a better approach to think about how we can implement AI.
Where do you think GenieBook will be in 5 years' time?
In Southeast Asia, we will be in 2 to 3 more countries, right, at least. And then in Singapore, if you go, and in Vietnam probably as well, if you go everywhere, you'll see our physical outpost. Right, and that is where you can interact with the technology, experience the AI magic of learning, right? And then you can touch and feel all the other features as well.
Lastly, I want to talk about your leadership management style. You mentioned you were a strict but fun teacher, but as a boss, what kind of boss are you?
I don't know, man. I mean, this would be better described by
the team, right?
Yeah, from the team.
What they say behind your back.
But I think it's pretty similar. I think an educator will bring a lot of that traits into how they coach the team.
So what is the core value that you want to instill in your team?
I think the most important thing is really about the primary focus is always driving measurable learning outcomes for students, and everything else distilled from there, right? Of course, we must make sure that we are able to be sustainable, and which we are profitable and cash flow positive now, right? But I think in the absence of a funding environment being a lot better, right? We have our fate controlled in our own hands now. I think that's also the business principles that we need to have. If we want to continue to help students, we must be around to be able to help students. So the team knows this, and the value will be students first, right, and then the rest of us.
Was there some opportunity that you had to turn down because it was against your core value?
There are many of them, right? There are different partners, whether investors that come to us that we feel that they are great investors, but we feel that, only a financial investor, right, may not be as beneficial for us as in our current stage, right? And then there are different opportunities that partners come to us, do this together, do that together. If it doesn't help students, then we don't look at it.
So you have turned down investor money?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we've been fortunate to be in a position that the business is doing well.
What's your personal motivation in this? Like, running a business day in, day out. What keeps you going?
Firstly, again, I'm repeating it a lot, right? But I myself taught students before, so maybe to share a story is that when Alicia, my co-founder, and we started the physical center many years ago, right? There were two students that came to us in their PSLE, which is the national exam for Singapore. 3 months, their tutors separately dropped them because they were doing poorly, and the tutors were telling the parents that we can't help your children. One male and one female, 12 years old, and we took them in. They managed to pass their PSLE, right? But more importantly, they went from a 5-year course to a 4-year course in 2 years. That's very, very difficult. They have to get more than 80% on average for all their subjects in the secondary to final year exam. And when they did that, we asked ourselves, how much will someone have to pay you to take away this achievement from the kids? And back then we were earning like $1,200 or $2,000 a month, right? And I said that there is no amount that will make me ever take away this achievement from the students. So that was more than 10 years back. Right, and then that still holds true today, right? And building a technology product on top of it, and more importantly, building an everlasting, sustainable company as an umbrella to deliver these services and product is the primary objective.
What was the most difficult part of running a business? Is it keep your balance sheet, bottom line, or is it finding the right people? Is it finding the right clients, convince the parents, or is it marketing, sales? I mean, all these are difficult, right? But in your opinion, what keeps you up at night?
Everything that you mentioned keeps me up at night. But I think depending on the time and the audience, right? I think if a lot of the challenges and issues can be traced back to the people relationship, right? And I think that must be a fundamental requirement to build a company, is to get the people relationships in order. And if people really cannot work out after multiple tries, then we have to part ways, right? So I think that is the fun. But we have to make sure that everyone is well respected, right? And then making sure that the relationships are good enough to drive, so that everyone can focus on the objective.
I want to ask about your relationship with your co-founder, because many say co-founders, it's like a marriage, right? I don't know if you guys are a couple in real life. I didn't find any information on that. So how do you think that you complement each other and that you come along this far?
I'm sure. So Alicia have 3 kids. I have 2 kids. So we have gone through and we have watched each other grow and then set up families and all. Working together for more than 10 years, so we know each other's strengths and gaps and everything in between, right? But I think fundamentally, we have to be aligned by one single goal. And secondly, I think the basis that we will never do anything that harm each other, right, has to be understood, communicated, and trust, right? And then that cascade down to everyone else, that in the worst time, we will still take care of the team as much as we can. right? And I think that has to be applicable to any relationships, right? Whether it's work or whether it's personal relationships, right? Like yeah.
What was the darkest period of time for GenieBook?
I think the business challenges in 2023 and early part of 2024 were really tough, and the hardest difficult decision was that we had to say goodbyes to many of the colleagues that I really admired and respect, right? And so that was the most difficult time, right? In GenieBooks, or rather in my professional career.
Why did you have to part ways with many colleagues at that time?
The reality that we were building for, right, whether the fundings were coming and all that, right, we couldn't get to that goal within that period with that headcount, right? And we had to change course correct very quickly, right? And from what I see, at least on LinkedIn and stuff, most of them are happy and in better places. I'm still in contact with many of them, right? And some of them actually came back to join us, so we have been very fortunate.
So quickly, that you mentioned the 2023 and the beginning of 2024, but then quickly you turned around. The company has been doing well, right? Has been profitable for 3 consecutive quarters. So that was a necessary pain.
It was a necessary pain, but at the same time, I don't want to go through it, right? It's very painful to say goodbyes to the talented people that I work with on a daily basis, and I mean, if there was an option, we would definitely not. Even now, looking back, knowing that it is the only path, it is still with tremendous, I don't know, frustration and regrets that we have to go through it.
If you could give yourself an advice, younger self, 20 years younger, what would you say to yourself?
Buy Bitcoin.
Last week I spoke to Aaron Tan from Carol. I asked him the same question and he said, buy Tesla shares.
Yeah.
Great minds.
Jokes aside, I think I would tell myself to put in a lot more effort on building stronger relationships across not just myself. I spend time and invest in that. Also, coach the team on how to do that much earlier in their career and working in the company.
So you mean bring the team as more co-founders?
Partly, but also that in between them, right, they have to build the same respect and trust that we have for the founders and I have for the team as well, right?
How big is your core team now? How many people you can rely on?
I mean, I can rely on all 300 of my team today, right? And but
you still have to be there. Can it be on autopilot? Is that what you want to achieve?
My team that works directly with me is about 10 to 15 people, depending on which project I'm involved in, right? And they know that I trust them a lot, but they also know that if I have to get into the details, I will, right? Because I believe that attention to details as a leader is extremely important, no matter how big the team size is or how small the project is. They know that I will go in and I'll make sure that whatever, I will hold them accountable to whatever they are representing to me, right? But I trust them like I trust them 100% of the time, but they know that I'll validate what they say. So I think that's something that I work with the ground people as well, right? And look at ground. I just want to make sure that I know what are the challenges that the people who are talking to the parents face, and then we can then take care of the customer and the students better.
What's in the pipeline? Is it more funding coming your way, or are you eyeing IPO eventually?
I mean, there are people who approach us in all aspects of what you've mentioned, right? But I think for now, due to the environment as well, right, we are just heads down and trying to just continue to drive not only the business but also the benefit that we can implementing more AI so that we can help students to grow better and faster.
Do you have any short-term, medium-term goal?
Yeah, I mean the company growing in Vietnam and growing in Singapore, right? Today we are already the largest edutech company in Singapore, right? But going forward, we will be the largest Southeast Asia edutech company, right? And that continue our drive, right? And while that is the goal, more importantly is how many students we help, right? So 100,000 students, paying subscribers, and all that in each country will be something that we look at a lot, right? And more importantly, again, is we measure our own success in how many students progress within X period.
Do you have any last thoughts?
No, I mean, I appreciate the conversations. Very provoking and insightful questions.
Oh, thank you. That's it for today's conversation on Asia Tech Lens. A big thank you to Zhizhong from GenieBook for sharing the journey and insights. If you enjoyed the conversation, please make sure to subscribe and share, because that's really going to help us to bring more stories from founders and leaders shaping Asia's future. Until next time, I'm Miro Lu. This is Asia Tech Lens.